Welcome to the Explainer. Okay, let's jump right in. If you've ever dealt with a major setback or a deep betrayal, you know the absolute strongest temptation is to just put your head down and try to bounce back. But today, we're exploring a completely different approach. We are looking at a framework for taking the raw material of your deepest disappointments, your lowest moments, and actually using them as pure, unadulterated fuel. I want you to really think about this question for a second. What if the worst thing that ever happened to you was actually the start of your greatest comeback? Think about your most painful rejection, your biggest failure, or maybe a really crushing heartbreak. We naturally view those moments as the tragic end of a chapter, right? But what if we completely reframed that? What if those exact agonizing moments are actually the raw material for your greatest success? Okay, let's dive into this. The basic human instinct is to treat pain like a hidden wound. It's something we want to numb, ignore, or just distract ourselves from until it hopefully fades away. But here's the core insight of this entire concept. Pain is just energy. And right now, you might literally just be letting that energy go to waste. The raw pain isn't actually the problem. The problem is what we're failing to do with that intense emotional energy. Because when that wasted energy goes unchecked, it builds what we call a pain prison. And this happens the moment you take a painful event and combine it with a repetitive, negative narrative. Look, we've all done it. Rereading that awful breakup text at 2 a.m, or replaying a completely failed presentation in the shower while coming up with the absolute perfect comeback a week too late. You're taking that raw energy and turning it into poison. You trap yourself in this vicious loop of thinking, I am never going to recover from this. You're inadvertently building your own prison out of a story. Now, what's really interesting here is how we escape that prison. We have to completely flip the entire concept of revenge. Our natural knee-jerk instinct is weak revenge. It's loud, it's striking back, typing out that petty text message you definitely shouldn't send, just wanting the other person to hurt too. But strong revenge? It's entirely different. It's quiet, it completely ignores the other person and focuses aggressively on building your own future. It's about creating a psychological shift where you make yourself totally untouchable.
So how do we actually execute strong revenge? Well, it comes down to a precise 4-step process called the pain fuel framework. This stands for pattern, awareness, intent, and next step. And to be clear, this isn't just some motivational cheer. It is a highly methodical sequence. It's the exact playbook to execute every single time you face a massive setback. Let's break down exactly how this behavioral shift works.
Step 1 is pattern, and the rule here is simple but incredibly profound. Name it to unchain it. Before you can ever use your pain, you have to step back and objectively identify the story you are currently telling yourself. Is your internal narrative quietly whispering, I'm not enough? Are you telling yourself that because someone walked away, you must be fundamentally unlovable? You have to shine a bright, objective light on that exact pattern of thinking so you can finally disarm it. Because here is the real danger. If your pain says, I was betrayed, so I'm broken, well, guess what? That becomes your identity. You literally start living and acting as the broken person. The critical energy shift, the internal pivot that most people completely miss, is mentally taking a red pen, crossing out that destructive narrative, and writing a new one. You have to actively change I am broken to I am using this exact situation to become undeniably stronger. And once you've rewritten that pattern, we immediately move to step 2, awareness. This is all about redirecting your fuel. We talked earlier about how pain is just energy, right? Well, heavy emotions like anger, frustration, and deep sadness are essentially massive reserves of raw, unrefined fuel. But fuel without a destination, it just burns things down uncontrollably. You have to become hyper-aware of exactly where that fuel is flowing in your daily life. So, I want to challenge you directly right now. Ask yourself, am I spending my energy on replaying or rebuilding? Think of yourself as the CEO of your own energy reserves. Every single time you feel that wave of anger or hurt wash over you, you face a choice. Are you going to spend that incredibly valuable energy sitting in a dark room replaying the past? Or are you going to consciously invest it into rebuilding your future? The choice is entirely yours. So the crucial point is exactly how we direct that energy, which brings us perfectly to step 3, intent. This is your future mission. This is the moment we turn pain from an enemy into a highly targeted strategy. You are no longer just trying to survive the day. You are setting a laser-focused goal to make your future undeniably secure. The intent isn't getting back at someone. The intent is making yourself totally untouchable. The ultimate intent is simple. Create a life so good they wish they never left. Now that is an incredible mission. Instead of firing arrows backward into the past, constantly trying to settle old scores, you are shooting a massive arrow directly into a brilliantly successful future. You're building a reality so solid, so undeniable, that the past simply becomes irrelevant. But look, a great vision requires actual traction. And that brings us to the final letter of the framework, step 4, next step. Momentum wins. Real, lasting transformation, the kind of revenge we're talking about, it doesn't happen through one giant, dramatic, cinematic gesture. It happens through small, relentless, consistent actions, day after day. And this concept brilliantly illustrates how it actually gets done. It happens through micro actions, sending that one email, starting that web page, taking one workout. Notice how these actions act exactly like falling dominoes. You knock over one tiny domino today, maybe it's literally just going for a 15-minute run when you actually wanted to hide under the covers, and that builds the unstoppable momentum you need for a massive comeback. It's step by step, brick by brick. When you start stacking those dominoes, you reach the grand payoff of this whole process: growth. Think about the profound psychological shift here. You used to let your pain define your identity. But now, your pain strictly defines what you are willing to build. By transforming your hurt into targeted fuel, you don't just recover, you evolve. You become absolutely bulletproof. So I'm throwing down a high-stakes, 24-hour challenge for you. For the next day, every single time a painful thought or memory hits you, I want you to stop and ask yourself 3 productive questions. What can I build from this? What small action moves me forward right now? And what story do I actively choose to tell myself today? Let me leave you with one final provocative thought. Are you ready to take revenge for the version of you they thought they could break? True success built from pain leaves absolutely no doubt. Start your comeback today. Thanks for joining me on The Explainer.